Hello everyone, my name is Laura Sinclair and today I'm going to be covering the Fortosi webinar. So what is the load planning solution that we have to offer? So you want to think of loading a trailer kind of as a puzzle. The loader is giving the load list to help solve that puzzle, but it's not everything. And then with that load list, it's going to be determined how things are loaded onto the trailers and in what order. And then you still don't know if it's going to fit on the trailer. You don't know what the geometry looks like at all. Now what Fortosi is going to do is be able to solve this puzzle ahead of time on the front end of things. So you're not going to be out in the shop wondering where the piece goes on the trailer. You're already going to have the load map that's produced from Fortosi. So you're going to know the piece marks, you're going to know where the geometry is physically on the trailer as well. When it comes to your load list, how are you creating these? Are you using an MIS or MRP software? Are you physically doing this by hand right now? The guy out in the shop's still not going to know exactly how all of the steel fits on the trailer. So with Fortosi, it's going to help provide an actual load map for that loader to see, and they don't have to do all the guesswork. Now, I have my load list. So when I get that load list, I'm going to get my piece marks, the quantities, the weights. You're not going to get any geometry with that, so it's just guesswork of what piece fits where. How do you know that that load list is going to fit on the trailer? Well, you don't, or you're going to do a guesswork. Maybe you have a rule of thumb of how you're calculating how everything fits on the trailer. There's a lot of different scenarios for loading. Just to name a few, you could do the fabrication of the steel and then put it on a trailer and it can get erected straight from there. Or you can do the fabrication and then it has to go sit in the yard and wait until it's time to erect it. Or you could fabricate it, then you need to put it on a trailer to send it out to a galvanizer, and then you have to put it back on a trailer later on once it's ready to be erected. And then for the unloading scenario, you're either going to erect it straight from the trailer or it's going to go into a shakedown area and then you'll erect it later on. So when we started looking into this market, we were asking people, do you think with a better tool to do your planning, you could reduce your costs? Do you think you could reduce the amount of trucks loaded? Could you pack the trucks a little bit tighter if you had a tool to help you on the front end? Could you increase your efficiency in the shop? If you have it on the front end, then you can send that information back to your MRP or MIS software to update their statuses. Those are all questions that we want to help answer. From there, we believe we came up with a few different solutions. One of them was spending less time actually creating the plan. So inside of the software, you can then visually see where everything's going to go, kind of like Tetris. You can put everything, all the pieces. It's going to also put the dimensions of where it's coming from the back of the trailer. It's going to have all the pieces and all of the geometry is going to be there. It's going to have all the piece marks there. And then it's also going to show an isometric view of where this is at on the trailer. Since you already have these created for you, then you're going to spend less time loading the trucks and the guesswork. Before I go into the demo, I'm just going to quickly cover some of the things that I'm going to touch on. So safety is going to be a huge thing that it helps with. If I'm going to know where these pieces are located inside of my software, then I don't have to go and do the loading and offloading. This is also going to help when you see it on the load maps too. Then I'll be able to pack my trucks a little bit tighter, and that could also reduce the number of trucks. I'll then be able to plan my fabrication better because I know what goes on the truck and not a hypothetical situation. All this is going to increase my efficiency, which is going to put a lot more money in my pocket as well. I'm now going to jump into the software and actually show what Fortosi can do. So I'm just going to import in an IFC file. An IFC file is going to give you the most information. Everything that's sent with that IFC file, there's going to be a lot of attributes attached to that, and so we can filter our model down, which is going to be very helpful when loading it onto the trailer. So we have over the left side, it's going to be like my staging list. And then in the middle is going to be my staging area so I can pick from the pieces there. And off to the right is going to be where all my filters are. So I'm going to go ahead and select a property of this column. So now you can see everything that's attached to this column that I can start filtering down. So maybe I just want to load onto my trailer sequence 2. I don't want my secondary steel to show up for this filter, and then I'm going to start filtering it even more for columns and a specific height. As I start selecting them in the bottom left corner, it's going to start populating the selected weight that I have. When I have the selected steel that I want, I can add it to my staging view and then switch into my loading view, which will be where the trailers are. The trailer definitions will be just a library basically for all my trailers. The bottom part's going to be where I set up the applied weight at each of the locations for the hitch and the axles. Anything that I add inside of here is going to be applied for all my jobs, so I don't have to set it up every single time. Now I'm ready to start adding my loads. I select the trailer type that I already had set up in my definition and then the load name. I do want it to have pyramiding, which I'll get to a little bit later, and then I have some overhangs on the front, side, and back. As you can see here in the front, we have the radius. That's for when it hits the cab, so I did want a radius there. I do have the overhang of 4 feet in the back. We have the center of gravity in the middle. The blue is going to be the center of gravity for the load, and the white is going to be the center of gravity for my trailer. As I start adding in the pieces of steel to the trailer, my center of gravity for my load is going to constantly update. I do kind of want it to be centered, so you'll see as I start modifying my steel of where it's located. And then we also have our dunnage area, which is the yellow area. This is just representing the area of dunnage because we don't want the loaders to get caught up on where to put the dunnage at. I could have loaded multiple trailers at once and loaded all of the steel automatically, but I just want to break this down to little small sections. Columns, I'm rolling them really simply, and then I can rotate them into place and let the system automatically place where it needs to go on the trailer. Now you can see the center of gravity is automatically updating for my loads. Now I placed it pretty well because it put it in the 4-foot overhang, but now I'm going to go ahead and manually move this just by hooking and dragging them into place. Once I have the first 3 columns in there, now I'm ready to add steel on top of it. So the first thing that I need to do is add in more dunnage. And remember, this is just the dunnage area. I'm just going to select the area that I want to place the dunnage at. And then I can go back into my staging view and grab those members that I want to add in. I'm just going to unselect some of my filters, add a couple more columns. Maybe now I want them to be 10 inches high. Select those and add them to my staging view again. Go back and then I can add them into my trailer. Now this one I'm just going to automatically let the system select where it wants it to go instead of manually moving it around. That looks pretty good, so now I can come back and keep moving on in my adding my steel. So the next is going to be my outrigger beams that I want to add in there. So I can just go ahead and add those in there. Same kind of process. I'm going to roll these a little bit just to make sure that my outriggers are not standing up and that they're actually going down and protruding into the dunnage. As I start adding steel, the capacity is going to start updating in the upper right corner, which I'll get to. Then I can come back into the staging view and I want to just add all of the 5-inch beams that are at this level. So I can go ahead and clip that staging view and then add in all of the 5-inch beams with my filter. And then allow the system to auto place these. You can sort easily by piece mark, weight, length, or height. Once I do auto place all, it's going to add in as many as it possibly can onto my trailer without going over capacity. So you saw now that I select another piece of steel, it's going to go over capacity. You can manually do this, but it's not going to automatically go over. I'm going to delete this one off and show you all of the steel that's protruding between the dunnage layers there. Now, if I don't want to see a specific loadable, I can hide it or turn it to transparent as well. And then again, the pyramiding would be that yellow little boundary because you want the straps to touch all of the steel. Before I go any further, I'm just going to go ahead and save this project really quick. And then what I do want is my center of gravity for my loads to be a little bit closer to the center of gravity for my trailer. So as I start moving the steel, you'll see that my center of gravity is going to update. Maybe I want to bring that back just a little bit more to maybe the columns. And then I'm going to go ahead and move the rest of the steel as well. Once I'm done adjusting the beams, then I can come back and adjust my dunnage layer as well. I don't need the dunnage for the entire level, I just need it right under my steel. Alright, once I'm done with that, I can set it to complete, and I can send out a bill of lading for maybe just this current trailer. Again, I could have multiple trailers getting loaded at once. I've just picked one trailer to work on right now. I'm going to do my bill of lading, and I'm also going to create a load map for this trailer. I could send out a CSV file for my bill of lading, but in this case, since I'm just going to open up both in Bluebeam, I just need PDF files. So now you can see my bill of lading. Something that's unique is it's broken down by layer. So you can see my layers of 1, 2, 3, and etc. And then we have my piece mark, description, and so forth. Coming into my load map, it's going to have the layout of every single piece of geometry along with the piece marks attached, and they're going to have my isometric view. And then lastly, we have our center of gravity. It's going to say my weight at the trailer hitch, the weight at my first axle, and the weight at my second axle. And then it's going to have all of the dimensions that are to those. You can see that now there's no guessing when it comes to where the steel needs to get laid down the trailer at and the center of gravity. If you have access to a tablet, you can view this IFC file physically. So maybe I'm the erector out in the field. I can see what shipment is coming my way. I can also be the driver and see what loads are about to get loaded onto the trailer. I could then put a note saying that I want this trailer inspected because I don't agree with the loads. You can do this all ahead of time. Now I'm opening this up into Libri, and as you can see, you can rotate around in that trailer. I have my dunnage, and if I select a piece of steel, you'll see that it shows the shipping mark and then also the location. Coming back into the model, I'm going to go ahead and add in another trailer that will show my stairs, handrail, and some of my bundles. Again, I can add all of these trailers at once, but I just did this one at a time, and I'll just call this trailer 2. Now I'm ready to go in my staging view and select the steel that I need. I don't need any of these filters anymore, but I do know that my stairs and handrail are going to be in this specific sequence. I'll just select some of my stairs here and add that to my staging view, and then come back and add in a few handrails. The last thing I want to add is bundles or pallets. The bundles can represent quite a few things, but maybe I want to put in some barrels of bolts. So I can just type the dimensions in there, the weight that I want it to be, and just physically add those onto my trailer. And then maybe I have a palette of embedded plates. I can also attach a CSV file. So once I put in my weight here, I'll attach a parts list. It's just going to be the parts that I want to say are in this pallet. Once those are added into my staging view, then I can add them onto my staging list and place them on my trailer. Now that I'm back on a brand new trailer, I can filter by the piece mark. And then I want to go ahead and roll that stair because I want it to have the stair stringer pointed towards up. And maybe I want it more towards the center for the center of gravity to match up for now. I could put the stairs side by side, but in this case, I'm going to turn on lacing, so it's going to actually have them so they rest on top of each other. So I'll just turn the lacing on and drag that over the top. If the steel intersects with each other, it won't allow it, but the surfaces can rest, and then I'll roll this third one and drag that onto the top too. Clip the view so you can see it of all my surfaces resting. Maybe I want to change this top one a little bit. Just get out of that command. There we go. Okay, so now I'm moving on to my handrail. I can say maybe I want the system to place that. I don't really like where that's at, so I can just manually move it. And maybe I don't want to lace this handrail because it's galvanized. So I'm actually going to place a little bit of dunnage on top of it. Before I do that, I'm going to adjust the resting surface just so it doesn't rest. It's going to try to rest on that surface of the grab bar, and I don't want that. So I'm going to move that down so it rests, the dunnage layer rests on the bottom handrail. I'll add my dunnage just on the top of that. 4 inches is about right. And then I will add my other one. I'm just going to roll it. And then I'm going to adjust the resting surface as well because I think that's just right on the grab bar. So in here. Again, it's super easy to navigate. Adjust it. And it'll automatically update. Alright, so I have those two in there, and then I can just place this third handrail off on the side here. I have my handrail in here, and now I want to add in my dunnage. I don't need 4 inches of dunnage. I'm just going to add in a really thin layer, maybe a 1/16 of an inch, just so my pallet and my bundles can sit on there. Once I have that added in there, then I can start adding on my pallet. I'm just going to start moving that around, maybe for my center of gravity to be a little bit closer. And then just start moving my bundles in there as well. All right. So once I'm done with those, I can just set it to complete and do the same steps as before. And I can send that out. Now let's say the erector called and they're stating that a piece of steel is missing from the job site. I can back up that this was on my trailer by searching. I can even search on my shipped or my completed for that specific piece mark. It will take me right to where that's located on the trailer, and then I can hide the other loadables if I want to, and I can see exactly where that was placed on the trailer. Once I'm finished, I can export my information back out to Tekla EPM or CMK Load Planner. I can do my selected trailer or a completed trailer too. So that wraps up today's webinar on Fortosi. I posed the question earlier about, do you think that if there's a tool out there to help you do a better load planning, would it help you reduce the costs? Would it help you be more productive and efficient in the shop? And would it help with safety since you know where all the pieces are going and you don't have to do the load and offloading of the trailers? With that being said, here's my solution that I presented today. I'm going to now go over some of your questions and I will be able to answer them as best I can. Make sure to contact a sales representative to schedule a demo and make sure to contact support to answer any questions.